Aloha, it's Antonio with HypnosisProductReviews.com. Today I've got Jason Linett all the way from New York. How you doing?
Virginia.
Okay, let's redo that. Aloha, it's Antonio, Hypnosis Product Reviews. I've got Jason Linett all the way from Virginia.
Hey there, Antonio.
Why did I think New York? I know you're from Virginia. I don't know why I thought that.
Part of the family's from New York, and it's easier to say time zone of New York, I guess.
And you didn't you work for Broadway? I know you did plays, right?
I was production contracts in regional theaters. I quit my theater job just as the offers were coming in for New York offers.
There's one story you told us at Hypnothoughts last year. Was it the Samuel L. Jackson story?
Yeah, let's not record that one.
No. If you want to hear, you can't. If you had me in stitches. If you want to hear a funny story, and you're at Hypnothoughts and you see him, pull him aside. Everything he said, is definitely way too colorful for this podcast.
Yeah.
So how's the year been since Hypnothoughts?
It's been fantastic. It's been a year of, first of all, with family. We've got Claire's now 5, Max is now 3, and keeping us busy, which those of you who are parents know what that really means. Business is going fantastic, keeping a full slate of clients and trainings going, and then the whole, as I openly share, digital empire is rapidly growing as well. So all good.
That is good. Now let's jump straight into. Actually, before we jump into what you're doing at Hypnothoughts, would you like to, for people that haven't been to Hypnothoughts and people that have been, let's refresh what Hypnothoughts Live is all about, or what it's all about to you.
Yeah, for me, Hypnothoughts Live, well, first of all, the nuts and bolts. It's a 3-day hypnosis convention happening out in Las Vegas. And luckily, I've got my screen open, and the dates are going to be the 25th, 26th, and 27th of August. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Learn more and register at htlive.net. What's really great about Hypnothoughts Live is that it's a non-denominational event. So it's not necessarily linked to just one organization, just one school of thought with hypnosis. It's all in the mindset of all of us coming together and improving ourselves as artists in this hypnotic profession. So whether it's the stage hypnotist or the hypnotherapist, whether you're completely brand new to this, it's that event where people are coming together and everybody is there for the goal of learning. It's the one event where I see more instructors, more trainers sitting in workshops learning as well, where there's no hierarchy to everything. We're all there together, and just overall, it's an outstanding event and definitely one not to miss.
That's what I like what you said about it's non-denominational. That's exactly what I've been saying for the past couple of years. And so far, is it the 5th one or the 6th one we're coming up?
I believe 4th or 5th.
No, it's
my numbers may be wrong. 4th one, I believe. No, this is the 5th one, I believe.
Is it 5th?
Now that I've said that, it's probably wrong. I missed the first one. I've been there for 3 years, so yes, 5th year.
Okay, 5th year. Time flies by. For Richard, and Scott, you guys have done an amazing job.
Year. Who are you?
Who am I? So, with all that push aside, let's jump in headfirst into what you're going to be teaching at Hypnothoughts Live.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about what I'm doing during the convention? You want to talk about the post, or?
Let's talk about both.
Yeah,
let's. So I know you, like me, like a lot of us hypnotists, we like stroking our ego. So we'll save that for last. We'll do the keynote, which actually both are big ego stroke. Yeah, let's do the keynote.
Sorry, what's that?
No, so if you want, you can talk about the keynote and then the post.
Yeah, the keynote's still in the works in terms of writing, as it is lovely right now in February, so gearing up for August. But in many ways, it's going to be, I'd say, a very open mindset in terms of how we address success as professionals in the hypnotic profession. That, we all like to talk about success. We all like to talk about making improvements. And yet it's not always this perfectly smooth, linear format. So perhaps from the background working with a lot of artists, whether it was in nonprofits or in theater or in other similar professions, there are some interesting mindsets that I've found really aren't as frequent as they should be in terms of our own self-improvement, our own goals, that so often, I know that, Antonio, you and I would probably be on the same side of this conversation, that as we've talked about business in the hypnosis profession, there are many who would fall into this game of, yeah, but I'm really not a business person. Oh, I'm fighting this one right now with a group of saying, oh, but we don't like doing sales. And it's just this gut reaction of a response that there's a quote that I'll miscredit here and misreference, but I love it, that if everything in life came down to having the right strategies, we would all be billionaire CEOs with six-pack abs.
Exactly.
Which, that quote is horribly unfair because the man who said it is a billionaire CEO with six-pack abs. But it's where, again, there's no lack of knowledge. There's no lack of information. The real issue is helping ourselves to overcome whatever blockages, whatever barriers. It's where there's a stage hypnosis conference coming up in March in Las Vegas. And I've had some people asking some questions about that specific event. And they're saying, well, I've never done a stage hypnosis show. Should I attend that event? And it's where my honest response was, there are 3 outstanding stage hypnosis shows in Vegas. And even while you're there for HypnoThoughts, go check these out. There's Kevin Lapine downtown. There's Anthony Cools. There's Mark Savard. And to go see all 3 of them, all 3 do a phenomenal show. And what my statement was, aside from the staging, aside from the outstanding performance style and the comedic timing and the bits, as the hypnotist, you're really not going to see anything up there that you don't yet know how to do. Yet the difference is they're the ones that are doing it. And it's how, when you go to these workshops, when you hear of these outstanding things that people are pulling off, again, it's information that is readily out there, yet it's in many ways breaking through those barriers in such a way that now we're actually taking action. You asked about how I've been. The biggest lesson I've learned probably in the last 2 to 3 years is that there is no such thing as finding the time. Finding the time is a game that we have invented to fool ourselves into the oblivion of becoming ineffective. Yeah. It's a bold statement, I know, but instead there's making the time. And as we make the time for our own success, for our clients, for our families, for the growth of our own business and our communities as hypnotists, that's where we take it all to new levels. And these are some of the themes I'll be addressing as the keynote on Friday night.
Something I'd like to add about about the knowledge, it's a lot of it's information overload.
Yes.
We get so much information. Like, for example, I'm really bad about analysis paralysis. We get so much information. I got stuff that I'm finally, in the past, say, year and a half, I've actually been taking what I know, putting into play, where I'm actually been starting to actually write sales copy for hypnotists. Might be backwards. And it took me a long time to be able to get there. But like you said, the fact of the matter is, it's not a lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. At this point, I mean, you think at any point in the future, you're going to have more knowledge than you had before. It just, knowledge is just general. Think about the human mind. How many thoughts do we think about in a day? And sometimes it's good. You just need to narrow it down and like you said.
And it's where, again, one of my favorite little idiosyncrasies is that, I'm the business guy. Inside of my programs, I'm very often showing people how to harness technologies, how to take their businesses to new levels. It's where very often here's a workshop, here's a training with 2 or 3 people that have signed up for it. And I get the noble cause behind the statement where some would say, well, you do the training so people have the information. You're not necessarily doing the training for the income. And I've heard that in weeks where I've done a webinar with upwards of 450 people in attendance. And it's where we got to update our thinking. And so much of it is the mindset nowadays that I keep falling back to. I get questions for people in that analysis paralysis in terms of technology. Do I use an Apple computer? Do I use a Windows? Do I buy the Yeti you're using or the Yeti I'm using? And the phrase that I keep coming back to is, all this stuff works. You just have to use it.
And what word processor do I use? I finally realized that this is the best word processor.
Yeah.
For me, just write.
My best writing in the text editor.
Yeah, the
'Cause
easiest one.
what's that?
The easiest one because you can't
I
edit
can't
it.
be creative. I can't try to make it pretty.
You know what's funny? For anybody that's listening to this that does write their own sales copy or needs to write promotion material, if you look, there's actually a text editor that's time based, meaning that if you stop typing, if you've seen that, it disappears.
There's a blog post for one of my websites that I'm working on that I really want to title this the exact quote that this client used. I didn't want the asparagus. I just needed the rubber band. There's an intro to a story. And it's basically a client of mine that was looking at finishing her graduate thesis to get actually, I believe, her PhD. And she and I were talking about some of the products that I offer and how it's a very frequent thing that I'm including a transcription of the product along with the actual product, which, you know, you can view it, you can stream it, you can download the video, you can download the audio, or you can read the transcription. And I mentioned that, you know, for some of my trainings, oh, here's the 100-page manual. And I stand there and smile and say, I didn't write a word of this. No, but I spoke every word of it and then had it transcribed. And I mentioned the transcription service that I use, and she suddenly clicks to go. She goes, I can put my phone in the visor of my car, and I can narrate my thesis as I'm driving. And thus came the quote, I didn't want the asparagus. I just needed the rubber band.
That's hilarious.
That she needed the thick rubber band to mount that phone up there. I'm sure there was something else she could have used, but I just love the story of that, of, again, finding that little bit of a hack to overcome that barrier of, the issue wasn't the time, the issue was the strategy.
Yeah, just make it simple.
Yeah.
Okay,
Find
now
the way that you're actually going to do it. You know, there was a study that was done, and I kind of I've played a bit of a human guinea pig game on myself over the last couple of years with some of the weight loss and some of the strength training that I've been doing. And there was a study that was done about which version of cardio is the most effective. Is it if in the morning and you've eaten something, in the morning and you're fasted, in the afternoon, the evening? And they really couldn't find any details that were really conclusive to say, this is the one to do. And the footnote, I think, of the study actually said the most effective one is the one you'll actually do.
yeah.
Yeah. And I love
exactly.
that.
If it works, don't stop.
Right.
Okay.
Take action.
Now let's. You know, I feel like you were talking to me from the last time I talked to you when I was kind of slacking on my stuff.
Yeah, how's that going, Antonio?
I'm working on it. I'm actually doing it, and I got some in my eye. I've got my my opt-ins and everything. I just have to edit a bunch of podcasts. I got a lot of podcasts I need to edit so I can start getting people to jump on my newsletter.
And the best mindset with all of this stuff is that it's never done. It's never complete. It's never finished. It's always in motion. And just as soon as you have it in motion, you're always allowed to change it again. The TV show Silicon Valley has really helped to popularize something that's a traditional technology term, where here's a company that launched with this thing, but then they discovered the market responded to that one, and they pivoted, and now they're doing this. So you look at, there's stories of medications with unintended side effects that are now being sold for other items. There are software companies that weren't originally in this market, and now they're in this other market. And, it's where I had a product that was selling very, very well. And yet, because I was looking at it, and even though the phrase that I've learned from the old career that I left behind years ago was, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it the rest of your life. So I had a product that was selling extremely well, yet I realized there was a better way to do it. So I took it off the market for about 6 to 7, 8 months or so, and then relaunched it the way that I knew it could be better.
Was it the boot camp? Was that the...
Well, it may not be the most popular of examples, and admittedly, I'm someone who falls asleep during most science fiction, and I watched finally all of Star Wars to get the jokes from Family Guy. But you got to respect the nature of George Lucas over the years of him going, we can do it differently. Let me change this, which was him being that artist and coming back to something which, whether you agreed with the choices or not, that was his story to share.
You're such a dork. So you watch all of the you said Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Okay, so
I
you
might
just
make the same mistake as you just did, but it's where this is decaf right now. But any other
exactly.
for that one, oh, game on caffeine.
Yeah, so you didn't watch Star Wars until recently, then.
I'm just someone who just doesn't get into a lot of science fiction. It turns out.
See, I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I watched was it 4, 5, 6, and then before Force Awakens came out, I watched the first 3 Star Wars, and those were
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. I can probably quote every line from Spaceballs, so that tells you a little bit more.
Exactly. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about the workshop you got coming up for HypnoThoughts.
Yeah. So during the convention, a couple of presentations, and I may be paraphrasing the titles here as they're not in front of me. Looking really forward to doing a joint 2-hour presentation with Kevin Cole, which the premise was, let's do a talk at a hypnosis convention about doing less hypnosis, where the whole theme of this is all about conversational change before the formal process of hypnosis begins. So it's where one of the strategies that I'm often using is by way of just conversational suggestion. I'm bouncing the techniques off of my client before the official moment of close your eyes, let's begin. And I'm getting that instant feedback and chipping away at that issue before the process begins. Kevin's a guy who's right now out in Vancouver teaching a 16-day hypnosis and NLP training, and just a really excellent practitioner. If you haven't yet seen a Kevin Cole workshop, I think he likes that I sum it up as, okay, enough talking, let's do a demo. And it's all about giving you strategies that you can use to, as I like to say, have the result already in motion before the process has officially begun.
Yeah.
That premise of, hey, before we get started, is an absolutely fantastic one. Also, I'm going to be doing a 1 hour on content creation, sort of my content creation machine. So whether it's blogs, whether it's content for your website, whether it's giving talks, it's a very simple strategy when you go in with the right mechanisms and the right mindset to put together the information. And then for the first time as a live feature, the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, the podcast that I do, which is now, as of now, been downloaded more than 70,000 times. I'm going to be doing a 2-hour workshop on podcast domination, how to take over any niche. And it's going to be specifically on one side, the technology, something that I call the podcasting triangle, which is a 3-pronged system in a content creation mindset in terms of how do you deliver solid content on a regular basis. And then we'll also be talking about how to structure your program in such a way that then it becomes systematic and very, very easy to produce, whether you do it yourself or whether you hire a team of people as I've done to produce that thing.
Yeah, believe me, after doing editing podcasts for a couple of years, it sometimes it's better to have a team.
It is, and I've gone through several different options over the years, and again, they all work. It's just a matter of finding the one that's the fit for you. I would share that from my techie side of things, if I know enough to be dangerous, is the phrase that I keep coming back to. It's where, okay, they used the wrong intro. I can fix that in 10 seconds. Okay. Or I can do a rough edit and then I can send it off to somebody else. You know, I mentioned earlier that I do some of my best writing in just either Windows Notepad or some blank text editor on a MacBook. I'm using both platforms these days. And it's how so often I am just drawing something on a sheet of paper, snapping a photo of it with my phone, and then sending that off to an outsourcer. And that's how I get exactly what I want. Or for those of you that saw the earlier video of the promo for Hypnotic Products, my 2-day post event, it was where I was kind of acting out the logo sequence. And from that funny video, that's from my video guy, actually built the graphic sequence that's there now. So it's where, again, you don't have to be the expert to do it. What you do need to be able to do is describe the user experience. And from that, that's where, and hear this from the most positive place, that's where the outsourcer becomes a dime a dozen, because you're meeting up with the technician who can take the vision that you're sharing with them and then put that into motion.
Now, speaking of the intro, was that intro you did, was that the one where you we're talking. Yeah, I think you mentioned me in it. Talking, you were joking. The caption at the bottom or the disclaimer was about. I think I was the one giving out the refunds.
Oh, you saw that was a draft only. You saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, good. You can give refunds. But I don't have any money to give out for the refunds. So with the podcast nomination, is that going to be? I don't know if you can reveal too much, but is that going to be for niches? Are you talking about specifically not hypnosis as a niche, but hypnosis for weight loss, hypnosis for this, for smoking, etc.?
If you want to talk that, or even if you had the intention of positioning yourself as an expert in another niche market to then sell your hypnotic products to that market as well. So, I give you a preview of the what I call the podcasting triangle, but basically there's 3 prongs of how you can organize your content from the way that I can do it. One would be that, one, you're teaching your own information. So here is something that I have been training. Here's something I've been teaching. And consider this week's podcast session a preview of what it's like to train with me. There's prong number 1. Prong number 2 would be related to the first one, and that would be interviewing students or people who have made use of your information, which indirectly is providing another bump of credibility, but also giving that social proof that, hey, this stuff works. He's not just churning out content for the sake of content, because people are actually putting this into use.
They're using it.
Yeah. So the third part of it, though, is a little different, which would be that this is where you're going into, and I'm going to use a word that I no longer use, and the word is interview, where traditionally it would be, I'm going to interview this person to learn about what they do. Which I don't have an exact number on this, but I'd openly share. Again, the mindset of constant reinvention. The first 20 or 30 podcast sessions of the Work Smart Hypnosis program, those were interviews. From that day forward, they're now conversations. And the mindset came from, again, attending outstanding events like HypnoThoughts. You could go to workshops, you can go to convention pre and post and get excellent information. But it's like, Antonio, it's you and I sitting here having a chat, and the little nuggets that pop out of these conversations, that's where the really, really cool stuff came out of it. Where it's where there's a bit of a ongoing, let's call it controversy, right? Why not? Where here's an organization that says you need 500 hours to be a hypnotist. Here's one that says 100. Here's one that says 180. Here's one that says 270. And I can name 10-day classes I've attended that would have been phenomenal 4-day workshops. I can name 2-day events that would have been a phenomenal 2-hour workshop. And I can name 20 minutes at the bar, which changed everything that I did in the hypnosis profession. So the hours is not necessarily an equation to the quality. Instead, it's the content that counts. So, of Jeff Walker. Jeff Walker put out a product called Product Launch Formula. And Jeff Walker is the guy who killed me years ago because his product, my language of this is that he launches with raving fans. So whenever he releases a new iteration of his program called Product Launch Formula, he grandfathers the members into the new iteration, which is beautiful. And his newest one is like version 5.0 or 6.0, and I had like version 2, I think. And he comes out and says, oh, you may have noticed that the training this time is only about 7 or 8 hours. Yeah, version 2 was 40 hours. You'll notice it's a lot shorter. I've become better at teaching it. And I heard that as I had just put out a 40-hour training. It was like, you got me.
He slimmed everything down.
It's about, these conversations. So again, the 3 prongs of that system. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have a program, you want to have a podcast. And even if you don't have the goal of launching a podcast, whether it's blog writing, whether it's webinars, whether it's any platform, it's never the platform that's the issue, it's the strategy. To follow that system where what are you doing there? You're providing valuable content. You're showing the results that this stuff works if you put it into use. And then inadvertently, by doing these conversations as I intend them to be, you are positioning yourself as a peer in that market. So if you were trying to target, let's say, the the paleo community in the weight loss industries, to really niche it down, not just to go after weight loss, but to go after paleo. In fact, let's get even more specific, and this is something that I've been doing for now about a year and a half, a sort of paleo style approach to things with intermittent fasting. Well, with that, now we can go after specific targeted people and specific targeted strategies. And with that, yes, it tightens that niche down to a smaller community. Yet the benefit is when you, as I like to say, when you try to sell to everybody, you end up selling to nobody.
Yeah, I remember you sell to no one.
Yeah. So it's where the content creation machine, as it were, can be the difference between show versus tell. I comfortably share that I probably give away more free information than most people in the hypnosis profession will ever sell. And there's a format to it that is really effective, though, and I'll share it here, is that you're always riding that balance between show and tell, where, and very often the free content, I am showing you what to do or telling you what to do. And then the paid version, the answer is, let me make that easier for you by then showing you the step-by-step, hold your hand, guide you through it. So it's where you could go off and reinvent the wheel, from my podcast sessions. You can probably derive a lot of the information from my 2 core products for the hypnosis profession. Yet to really get the intricacies and details, you got to step inside. So to follow that same format with the products that you create and the content you put on a podcast and what you share is the mechanism to then build that raving fan base. And by doing so, it's where, again, you side with this phrase, it takes just as much effort to sell a $50 product than it does a $500 product. You still have to get people to cross that threshold. So why not focus on the 500?
True. It's funny. I think a lot of people don't realize a lot of ebooks and whatnot, ebooks, sales pages, it's created from stuff like this.
Yeah.
Transcribe. I've done that with a sales page, and it comes out real conversational. It's got that real punch in the gut kind of, where it just is visceral. It grabs you. Like, I've studied a lot of Gary Halbert. His stuff would pull. I don't know if you've read his stuff. His stuff would pull you in, and by the time you know it, you're all the way at the order button, ready to buy something.
In the strength and muscle building community, I forget his last name, but his first name is Dom. He does the bro science videos on YouTube.
Oh, he's so funny.
He is so funny, and he just put out the Swoley Bible, and I'm reading it as I got it as a Christmas gift from Michelle. And first thing, there were 2 thoughts as soon as I cracked into it. First thought was, these are transcriptions of his YouTube videos, and the second thought was, oh, I got to put a new book out there. Because again, the number of transcriptions that I've produced, I keep a company called SpeechPad in business, where they're constantly churning out stuff for me. And again, they're $1 a minute. Check them out, speechpad.com.
And then I'll give a hint to people, since I don't know if most people know I'm a copywriter, help a lot of hypnotists sell their products. If you want to come out with a really good sales page, jump on something like this, or even your cell phone, record the conversation, check the laws, make sure it's legal to do or not. I absolve my name of that. And pitch your
do not necessarily replicate the views that now.
Yeah. Pitch your training to somebody, and actually sell like you're going to sell. If they have any objections, deal with that. Take that recording, send it off, and you've got a decent sales page. You still got to get rid of the ums and all the little other things. That's where people like me and Jason step in.
Yeah. Well, it's where, again, one of the I'm not doing any presentations on this theme at HypnoThoughts, but it's where we always are dividing our time between active and passive strategies. And, some of the things that you and I have been talking about so far really do fall into the passive strategy mechanism. While you and I are here right now, there are people listening to my podcast. There are people buying my products. There are people interacting with my digital content. And yes, that's really, really sexy, but it's where within every consult, within every coaching session that I do with hypnotists, there's let's go back to the musical theater background. There's a musical called Avenue Q. And it's basically, it's like Rent with puppets. And there's a song called There's Life Outside Your Apartment. And really, in a recent podcast session I did with Michael DeShalit, his phrase was, if you're in your office and you're not seeing clients, you're not working. And the benefit of going out and doing the live talks, going out and doing the business networking, that's where your best content comes from, because you're learning to be concise, you're learning to be effective with your language. And the things that if you go to virginiahypnosis.com and you watch my little videos that are on all the pages, that's the stuff I developed to say while I was at these networking events.
You've got a lot of videos all over the internet. A lot of them, they have tracked me and followed me on Facebook. Damn you
Scott Sandman
retargeters.
made the joke last year at HypnoThoughts about, have you seen Jason Linett's new website? Yeah, it's Facebook.
True. And I like when people claim that Facebook ads don't work. I'm like, well, if they didn't work, people would not continue to dump millions of dollars.
And it's never the platform, it's always the strategy.
True.
And there's a person who I was on a coaching call with the other day that, the whole thing was, if your website is not optimized to make conversions, you're just flushing money down the toilet. So it was one of the rare times that I looked inside of his ads, and the ads were actually outstanding. The ads were targeted. The ads weren't saying smoking, weight loss, fears, anxiety, stress, and sports improvement. No.
Everything.
Are you ready to quit smoking was the headline. That is phenomenal. Just go after that. Except it was pointing at the homepage, and we couldn't find his phone number on his site. Yeah.
Of course it wasn't converting.
So it's never the platform, it's always the strategy. And the other, if I had to spin a negative phrase here, don't take advice from people who haven't succeeded at the things you want to do.
True.
The number of times I've seen people who have taken things that I've done with them of their business card and go, oh, but this person said I needed this. I go, that person's not seeing clients.
Or like somebody's like this, like, you can't quit smoking with hypnosis. It's like,
and again, Dave Ellman said that, but.
Oh, did he?
Larry would say Dad put that in his book to get Mom off his back.
Probably a reason why. Now, let's see. What was I going to say? Actually, we really haven't dug into the Hypnotic Products.
Yeah, Hypnotic Products. It's a 2-day post-convention offering, and it's all about helping you to design, create, launch, and sell your own hypnotic products. So it's a very niche-specific category of business growth that, many of us do have these single-use audio programs that you might be selling anywhere from like $10 upwards to maybe $70 or $80, maybe more if you're customizing it for the individual. And what I'd encourage you to do is, as I like to say, think a whole lot bigger. So it's where we could sell the individual use audio program, or instead we can sell an entire system. And I'd give you a simple example of this, which is absolutely brilliant. You look at a company by the name of Beachbody. And you know the terminology, but Beachbody's core product is P90X. And there's something beautiful about P90X, P90X2, P90X3, and there's some newer iteration of it. I jumped around in front of a TV for 18 months doing P90X3. I think that's a good program. Actually, you'd love this, Antonio. At a convention, a marketing event I went to, I sat next to the media buyer for that company. He's the guy, he doesn't produce their infomercials. He doesn't produce their print ads. He's the guy who buys the time and the space to put those things out there. And he's also the guy who suddenly went, hey, let's stick our products on Amazon. And they added about $400,000 or $500,000 to their profit a month as a result of that.
Well, I didn't say a year, a month.
And I'm just sitting there, it's like, just keep talking. I'm just going to keep listening and writing out everything you say. So it's, again, this mindset of thinking a whole lot bigger. So there's a cool thing to reference inside of that P90X program as an example here. It's the choose your own adventure methodology of home fitness. You get a big old package with a bunch of DVDs. You get some resistance bands. You get some additional things. And it then plays the choose your own adventure game. If you want to become lean, watch the videos in this order. If you want to gain strength, watch the videos in this order. If your goal is endurance, watch the videos in this order. If you want to build muscle, watch the videos in this order. The beautiful thing of that, even if you don't model that exact style of delivery is that it folds in the hypnotic presupposition of compliance. Because in terms of some of the statistics that I've seen, that is one of the few programs that as people bought it, yes, there's outliers, but it's one of the few programs that as people bought it, they were the most likely to use it and stick with it. They're also a company that really in the last couple of years grew to understand the importance of community. And it's where we can sell our individual thing, but to think bigger and to build a lifespan of your product. So I'm someone who I go to these marketing conventions because I know that's probably not the interest of a lot of people watching this content here right now. I love this stuff. We were talking Star Wars. I also don't follow sports. This is my game. This is my thing. So it's all about learning how to create these streams of passive income in such a way that, in the words of my personal hero, Ron Popeil, he would baste the chicken, they'd stick it in the Showtime rotisserie grill, and what'd they say, audience? Set it and forget it. So it's where over the years, looking at different content delivery mechanisms, from doing a corporate event and upselling a series of products at the corporate event, which completely dwarfed my already massive income from doing a 90-minute stage hypnosis program. I made more from the hard sales than I did from doing the presentation. Whether it's customizing items for various events, having things that I'm able to offer to clients that were not able to come to my office, whether it's the mechanisms you've likely seen that I've done in the hypnotic profession. There's only maybe 3 or 4 of us selling membership-based products successfully these days.
I can't even think. Oh man, I can't really think of many people. I know you. Well, you of course.
Yeah. And I'd prefer not to highlight specifics because then that's implying there's others that aren't doing it well.
Yeah.
But again, it's this place of really, it's where my backstory to the business side of things comes down to the branding that is the name of one of my products called Hypnotic Workers, which for those of you with a magic background, perhaps there was a man by the name of Michael Close who put out a series of magic books called Workers. And his whole positioning was he was at the Illusions restaurant in Carmel, Indiana for upwards of, I think, 20 years. And he would not publish a routine unless he had performed it for several years. As opposed to, there's a little too much of the content for creation's sake going on these days. Where I go to a convention and hear someone talking about their business and business strategies, yet it turns out they hadn't done those things. Here's someone releasing a series of techniques for a specific hypnotic niche, and they haven't really seen clients or even tested that system. I'm a guinea pig with all this stuff. I will not teach you things that I have not done myself. So yes, on one side, you're learning the stuff that works, and also I'm going to shortcut your time and effort by learning the stuff that did not work so well. So it's where if it's the multiple DVD package set, I've done that. If it's the multiple audio course, I've done that. If it's giving people full access to everything you have ever done in a specific training niche and welcoming them in at a low dollar entry point and keeping them long term, that's one of my strategies these days. So again, it's where there's no shortage of knowledge. So it's where something I'm calling the product creation blueprint is why this is going to be a 2-day hands-on course. Funny phrase, you'll love this. Hypnotic Products is not going to be a product. Yeah.
So you're not gonna record
experience of actually being there and putting this stuff together and learning how to strategize what delivery system and how to build it, and whether you build it yourself or whether you learn how. I've got a team of people doing work for me these days, and if you're hiding behind the phrase of I can't afford to outsource, trust me, you can't afford not to outsource.
Yeah, you save more money in the long run.
That's when I get to spend time with people like you, Antonio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
you should consider yourself blessed. Something like that.
I enjoy it.
and a hush falls over the audience. No, it's funny. I'm actually working for this company doing activity sales, just selling people on things like helicopters, boats, and whatnot on the island.
Excuse me.
You okay? We're doing it without the timeshare, which is so much better. Anyhow, our employer he likes money like most people do, but he's not smart enough to get somebody to outsource the. That's how we have to do it. If we book somebody a helicopter, we have to take a picture of the voucher, email it to the company email. So he'd rather pay one of us salespeople $15 an hour while we're at work to do that, which takes us away from selling.
Right. Yeah.
We found somebody that would do it for, I think it would be about half an hour a day, $7.50 an hour. And he's like, no, I only want to spend $60 a month on this. I'm like, you can't find an outsourcer from the Philippines that'll do it for that cheap.
Which, for those watching this, if you want, send me an email, jason@virginiahypnosis.com. Easy to remember. I'm Jason. I'm in Virginia, and I do hypnosis. If you missed it, there's a webinar so jason@virginiahypnosis.com. There's a webinar that I did a little while ago called The Easy Way to Produce and Sell Hypnotic Audio Programs. And it's a free presentation that I put on. If you missed it, shoot me an email. I'll send it to you. And it's where understand in the theater management career that I was in, I had to become rather adept at sound editing because we're in the middle of doing a musical rehearsal and suddenly it's a premiere of a musical or it's a well-known musical, but we needed an extra 16 measures for the dance sequence. And to be able to crop the music and replicate a sequence was just one of the soft skills that I had to gain. So I am pretty adept inside of some really advanced sound editing software. I even at one point explored being a sound designer. So even though I know how to do that stuff, I don't do it. Why? Because I could spend that time creating another product that I can then sell versus the time sitting there and cropping and bumping up the treble, adjusting the bass and making sure it fades in just right or the level's good, as opposed to Jan does that for me now.
Just pay somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got everything covered. So how much is your hypnosis product that's not a product? How much is that?
Depending on when people interact at the moment, there's a promo running. Really, I just encourage you to head over to hypnoticproducts.com because that's where you'll see the most up-to-date pricing. We're going to cap this off at 30 attendees because I want to keep this focused. We're already a little over half sold, so the clock is ticking on that one. And based on how early people sign up and the number of spots available is how much lower your investment may be. So just head over to hypnoticproducts.com to check out the details for this training.
I wonder if we could do a bonus. What about making this interview a transcription?
We could, yeah.
If that would work, I don't know if you'd be able to get any additional content. If you want to include that as a bonus, and even
actually, I know what I do as a bonus. We did this as a fast action thing just on the webinar, but I can extend this here. Inside of that easy way to produce hypnotic audio programs, in the making of building that event, I actually recorded a brand new program called Take 10 to Relax, which was just a 10-minute resetting anchor building strategy hypnotic session, which the people who responded to the fast action offer got the license rights to the script that I had put together for that. You'll see inside of that program, there's a whole mechanism of you need to buy your own royalty-free music because that's how it works. Yet many hypnotists get hung up in the content creation of what am I going to say during it? But I can make that as a transcription available. I think that's going to be something people will find a lot of value in. Because then it's something you can just reproduce with your voice in your business.
Awesome. No, I think we got everything covered. If you look below here, you'll see links for what's the website below here?
Hypnoticproducts.com.
Hypnotic Products. It should be Hypnotic Products. That's not a product.com, but Hypnotic Products.
Well, I say that because a lot of people are always going, is there going to be a digital version? And as much as I'm a digital version guy, I'd share over the years. Here's a lesson that I think is going to be really valuable, especially if I can target one specific group. If you are a speaker, if you are a trainer, you need to be in my class. Yes, we're going to be addressing the hypnotherapist or stage hypnotist who wants to up their passive income game. Yet, as I see photos of people's trainings, I see the group of 5 or 6 people. And yes, I'm about to jump into a training in March next month with Shawn Michael Andrews, and we're nearing about 30 attendees for that. So it's great to do this live event and have it be the flash in the pan. Yet I'm telling you, you've got to think bigger about how you do it. And the lesson that many people need to learn, because Antonio, with your product reviews, would you agree with this statement? Just because the camera is running at a training doesn't mean it's going to be a good product.
True.
So there's a different teaching style. There's a different delivery mechanism that needs to be done in terms of your live trainings to make it suitable for producing then as a video, which the side note is this little bit of a mindset shift that I'm going to be sharing inside of Hypnotic Products. First of all, it takes your live training, and the nickname I give it is the video shoot disguised as a live class. But what it actually does is, by accident, makes you a more effective instructor because it batches your information down to more digestible chunks of information, and it makes it so the students can learn it even better. So the inverse of that would be that the live experience is a little different now from how you would teach something to eventually become a product. So I'm designing this in such a way that it's really going to stand on its own as a live event. And I may do it again sometime in maybe 2 years' time. So this is one of those once in a while opportunities. So make it your priority to really grow your passive income. Break out of that dollars for hours model.
Man, my marketing brain's thinking, ooh, scarcity, real scarcity, real scarcity.
Although on one side, scarcity, but again, back to the phrase of, there's a longer story that I love that I'll shorten here of a well-known pop singer who suddenly announced, I'm not going to sing the old songs anymore. And he went on tour, and suddenly the audiences were unhappy that he wasn't doing the old songs. And it took him receiving a letter from a fan where she was admitting that she was in a very low part of her life. And here's a song that he wrote. And the lyric from the song completely changed the direction of her life. And on one side, he's touched. He literally saved her life with that lyric. On the other side, he's having to hold back the logical perspective of going, that's not what that song's about, though. But again, from the art, it's where a good piece of poetry can mean something to someone else. As I worked with actors in the old career, here was this one actor based out of Washington, D.C., who had played every male role in Hamlet. And he goes, and at different ages, I sided with different characters. So it's where it's not for the sake of sticking in the Disney vaults, and it may come out again in about 7 years. It's for the mindset of, this is what I think people need the most right now. And it may be something else that people need in the future. So it's where, again, this is the delivery mechanism. This is the information that I think it's 2017. This is the direction that all of us as entrepreneurs need to be looking.
Got to update. Now, with
all your game. The world has become a lot smaller.
Well, yeah, it is getting smaller. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to praise myself. Some folks know, and he knows that I do copywriting. For people that don't know what that means, it means I basically write words that gets people to buy your products and get people to sit in your seats. So if you look below this or in the upper left, right, however the video is, you'll see a
somewhere there,
somewhere around here, you'll see a box where you can put your name, email, and you will get instant access to a free ebook. Discover 3 surefire ways to sell your hypnosis products online in under 30 days.
Boom.
I need to take a breath on that. And this is something I think I can say now, and I might have to edit this out later. I've actually, I think I'm decent at writing. I've actually been hired by Igor Ledachovsky to do a lot of his content writing. You won't see it on the blog. It's not under my name. But considering one of the top trainers, if they're willing to pay for my content writing, means I probably know what I'm doing. Or I would hope so, at least. So if you want to learn how to sell hypnosis products online, look below or somewhere around here, put your name, your email, and you will get free instant access to that ebook where it'll cover 3 things, such as coming up with your ideal customer, your USP or unique selling proposition, because every hypnotist, they think we're all snowflakes. Like I'm a hypnotist. You know this. I'm special. Nobody knows this technique. BS. You have to find out the one thing that really makes you unique. And then there's one other thing in there which we'll leave it. I'm not gonna pretend and leave it a secret. I just forgot the other thing in there. I'm just having a brain fart. The Benadryl I took earlier is making me a little tired. That's why. Okay, so I think we have everything. Any last thoughts, prayers?
Yeah, I'd encourage just a little bit of a soft plug as well to check out, of course, the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast. Just head over to worksmarthypnosis.com. New content every Thursday consistently with, teachable content, experiences of success, and conversations with other outstanding hypnotic practitioners. And also check out on that page, you'll see links to hypnoticworkers.com, which is the entire digital access. I think the trade term, Antonio, is the entire digital brain dump. It's my entire hypnosis training. So rather than give you the course on deepeners, the course on instant inductions, the course on
everything,
instead just open up the floodgates. Here's everything. So you're able to join for just $47. You get access to everything. What we don't need any more of in hypnosis are scripts. And what we need instead are transcripts. Because actually one of the components inside of Hypnotic Workers are real client sessions from the moment of walking in to walking out. These are real paying clients who signed a waiver and agreed to be as a part of this project, and all sorts of demos. I think as of now, there's more than 70 or 80 hours of video content inside of Workers. It's a whole community as well. We get together every month for webinars. There's new content regularly being added. We've got a private forum as well of everyone speaking the same language. And go to the page to see some of the raving fans of that. That's hypnoticworkers.com. It's a great way to get a chance to meet me before you even sign up for Hypnotic Products.
And it's a good way to check out the podcast that we haven't done yet.
Exactly. Coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. Once I get my button gear and I get my website tuned up a little bit.
There you go.
Thanks for taking the time to come on here, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Awesome. Yeah. See you soon.
Aloha, folks.